from the heart of Dubai, where tomorrow is being built today, to the world. Welcome to the CTO Show with Mehmet. Here, we redefine technology and reimagine possibilities. With Mehmet, delve into the riveting realms of AI, cybersecurity, and digital technology. Experience the thrilling highs and lows of startups. Immerse yourself in the spirit of entrepreneurship and witness the future of business innovation being written in real time. Now, without further ado, let's tune in and explore the future.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of the CTO Show with Mehmet. Today I'm very pleased joining me, Buchi Reddy from Silicon Valley. Buchi, the way I love to do it is I keep it to my guests to introduce themselves. So tell us a little bit about you and what you're currently up to.
Right. Thank you, Mehmet. First of all, really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I am Buchi Reddy. I'm originally from India. I've been in the Silicon Valley for the last 7 years. I'm the founder and CEO of Levo.ai. Levo is a proactive API security platform. Started this company about 3 years ago, and we have a bunch of customers, several in fintech, even a couple of public companies as well. But we are still very early in the journey and looking forward to actually helping enterprises secure their APIs.
That's great. Thank you again, Buchi, for being with me here today. Now, this is a question that usually I like to ask every founder I interview on the podcast. You must have seen some gaps in the market when it comes to API security. And you figured out that there's a huge problem that needs to be sorted out. So I like to hear these stories, which is like where the idea came from, what were the gaps that you see in the market, and how you are trying to, close these gaps with Levo.ai.
Yeah, totally. This story is really important, right? So first of all of us know APIs have been around for a while. The API is not a new thing. And I've written my first API almost 15 years ago. But my first encounter with some of the API and application security came when Cisco acquired AppDynamics. So I spent 5+ years at AppDynamics, leading the backend services team, backend metric service team, which is the core backbone of monitoring. And I was there when Cisco acquired us. And when Cisco acquired us, we all know the gold standard of Cisco's security team, and amazing folks, very knowledgeable. And they came and say, hey, AppDynamics is now Cisco. We got to make sure your applications are secure and cloud is secure and everything, right? And we naively volunteered to be the first team to go under their scrutiny. And I think that was the best thing we have done. They basically started showing all the things. That experience, first I started understanding, oh my god, these security people, I started sympathizing with them or empathizing with them actually, because their job is to secure something that they didn't even write. And even worse, us developers, we are writing, but they are not necessarily in the loop always before this gets released. So I've experienced it that firsthand. And after that, when I was working in the API security domain, what I saw is, oh my god, apply that, the security, taking care of security posture of APIs, apply that to APIs. There is no product that is actually solving it the right way, in my opinion. There were few products which were actually trying to solve it like in production, saying, okay, you are already running your APIs in production. We're going to look at the production APIs traffic, or you're going to look at them in production, and we'll try to tell you if somebody is trying to attack you. But like, what is the problem? The problem is vulnerabilities in APIs. They were introduced when somebody is writing the code, which is the developers. And why are we waiting until they go into production? So this was like the aha moment that I learned firsthand. Okay, first of all, what I was super surprised about is, okay, APIs have been around for 15 years. Why is the tooling lagging by so many years? And why aren't we doing anything about it? And all the approaches that are out there, I feel that they're not the right approaches. So that's when started thinking about doing something. And that's why I highlight the word proactive, right? Levo is about proactively taking care of API securities. So Like we were determined to actually solve this problem and started a company and started working on a product for this.
That's amazing, Buchi. And just to your point, it's surprisingly something that's been around for 15 years, as you said. And now, even if you ask someone non-technical, they know that APIs are the main. To make it simple, even for people who doesn't understand tech, but people knows that applications need to talk to each others, and these applications need to have exactly like some secure ways to talk to each others. And it's not only about the connection; it's about much more about the. You mentioned something, Buchi, about preventive versus reactive measures. Like there's a lot of talk when it comes to cybersecurity about this. Should I focus more on the preventive part? Should I focus on the reactive part? But with what you did with Levo, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm just trying to open it a little more, this preventive thing. Is it like I try to understand what do I have first and then apply the security measures? Is this exactly what you try to do with Levo?
So just like you said, preemptive versus reactive, even discovery is also very common thing in cybersecurity. Whether it is your endpoints, whether it is your servers or cloud, everywhere the discovery comes first, and API security is not an exception. So discovery is common. But I think when you want to, one big difference that I started noticing, and especially which is where Levo is like super specialized. When you want to proactively secure things, your discovery has to be super comprehensive. Because when you are reacting, you are actually reacting, detecting on few things, that wherever you see activity, like apply that to web application firewall, apply that to endpoints. But when you want to be proactive, you have to do a lot more comprehensive discovery. But it starts with that, like you pointed, it starts with the discovery, and then what all you can do, how comprehensively you can do something about it before the APIs and applications get released into production, so that you give the assurance. I think another terminology that I use actually is insurance versus assurance. Insurance is about like, okay, if something goes wrong, then things come in. Whereas assurance is like, before you even go, before you even put into production, you want to give that assurance. So it's about discovery and doing the best that you can before your APIs go into production, so that you can actually give that assurance.
That's great. So I understand, Buchi, and just this again for the sake of making sure that we get the thing in the right way. So you detect any, let's say, API security anomalies, wrong code basically, before it goes to production. Am I right?
Yeah, so I'll describe it this way. Basically, I think
please.
now probably is the time to describe the product.
Sure.
What does Levo do? We find every API that you have in the company. Every API, internal, external, and even third-party APIs, or the egress APIs that you might be calling somebody. Find every API out there and let you know about those APIs, and we document them continuously, so you can actually even see the changes. So going back to my earlier point, security teams does not have to be at the mercy of somebody documenting this stuff or somebody informing them. Actually, with our product, it's the other way. Security people often are knowing now a lot more about APIs than some of the developers, because developers are implementing only few APIs, but security team with our tool is able to tell across the entire company which APIs are newly introduced, which APIs have changed recently, and all this. So we discover, document every API out there, and we give several details to help security teams understand the risk posture of these APIs. And then we do something called continuous testing. We continuously go and offensive test these APIs, much like penetration testing, for all the possible ways this API could be abused, so that, again, going back, we want to give the assurance. So we only, if you tell the API for 1,000 different ways it could be abused and prove that it cannot be abused, you will get that assurance. So that's what we do.
Absolutely. Fantastic, Buchi. Now, I like always to relate what we are talking about. So maybe, people get, we need to secure the APIs because, this application security measure to avoid, bad consequences. So mainly, Buchi, what we see the consequences, the bad consequences of a bad, I would not say would say bad, like not complete API security solution, or maybe if I don't have even an API security solution. So what are the risks that are awaiting me from a business perspective?
Yeah, the major risks are data breaches or somebody, depending on your application, if it is an e-commerce, somebody ordering for free or even or getting a lot of gift cards for free and stuff like that. If it is a bank, maybe somebody doing a fraudulent transaction or somebody stealing the data. So stealing data or money, to put it very shortly. And obviously reputation that goes along with them. That is a risk that you are taking if you don't think about securing this. I think, just to give you an idea, going back to your earlier point, Mehmet, how big this APIs is, why you should care about it. There is a stat, I think Akamai did some research. They say about 80% of the internet traffic is over APIs. Even the video that we are recording, or like a lot of parts of this probably is going over APIs. Like, it's that common. Every message that you are typing on WhatsApp or any other chat is going over APIs. So when 80% of the internet traffic is APIs, and your applications logic and most of it is actually getting communicated through APIs, if you don't secure it, the risk is very high.
Absolutely. And I was, last year, I remember, to your point about the APIs, mentioning how much we became dependent on them. And even I'm saying non-technical people, because, I was always giving, the examples of automation, right? So when we do any kind of automation, this automation, of course, it's not like a wizard that is sitting behind and making things done. It's all done by APIs. And to put it in the context, so if you are using from customer perspective, if you're using an accounting software or a booking software, and you want to connect it to the bank, so there's something called open banking API. So you get the feeds from your bank, and then they get into your accounting. And to your point, which is this is very critical, because data breaches, the consequences of data breaches, people think it's only okay, my data is stolen, but it's very dangerous, because first someone can actually put some kind of a blackmailing, especially they do it in the dark web, right? So sell your data if you don't pay us money. Sometimes it can affect it's always actually affect the reputation of the organization, especially if you are like in a very high regulated vertical like banking or e-commerce and the ones that you mentioned. So and I'm trying not to make here a kind of a fear effect. It's more like I'm trying to do an awareness why the API security and actually cybersecurity in overall is important. And this will bring me, Buchi, like as Levo, as an API security company, how do you see yourself in the whole ecosystem of the cybersecurity? Because you work on the preventive part. Now, of course, when we say preventive, people think about things like EDRs and these kinds of solutions. So how do you position Levo in a broader, I would say, cybersecurity perspective?
Yeah, cybersecurity is pretty big, and defense in depth is a word that they use to describe that, right? Because basically, if you take house as an analogy, especially like if your house has several rooms, windows, and several doors, and there is a compound wall or maybe multiple compound walls, cybersecurity is about like, okay, you got to have something at the network level itself, like just entry into the network, and you got to have something for the applications, so the network firewalls, web application firewalls, and you got to look at all the endpoints that are connecting to your network, or if it is corp network. So that's where the endpoint security comes in. But when you go into the actual backend services, or in general the applications itself, applications of a cloud, the product, if you take Uber, their entire ride sharing platform is running as an application, right? It will be running in some cloud, maybe multiple clouds, and their own data center. Depending on the company, there's several companies run it differently. They use different clouds, and then there is Kubernetes kind of stuff that they will be putting, and then they are running applications there. So in this whole stack, we are specially focused on the applications which are API based. That's like the innermost core. And they are the ones sitting closest to the data, if you think about it, right? They are the ones which are writing the data into the database and reading from database and serving through these APIs. Um, Fortunately, the cloud security and some of that infrastructure security there have been several products, and they are even little ahead. Maybe because people think that, okay, we all come from data centers world where, like, once upon a time we used to think that, okay, just throwing in a firewall and just protecting the gate or entry point was enough. Because of that, probably people tend to naturally think from outside in, so they go layer by layer, and API security is like the innermost core application and API layer which is dealing with the data, and we come in there. So if you people or our customers usually have some cloud security products, the endpoint security products, and they might even have some WAF and CDN where some of these are being taken care, and we are taking them all the way to the lowest level and giving visibility into this entire data plane in the data flows in their environment um, through APIs.
Yeah, to your point, you're right. Like, you are the closest, thing to the data, because this is where you are writing and accessing the database, and actually carrying data from, sometime, as you said, from one cloud to another cloud.
Yep.
Now, before I ask you about how easy it is to implement Buchi, I want to understand, and this is because of the name of the company, about the AI part. Like, are you leveraging any artificial intelligence, within the solution, or are you planning to do so? If not today, and how do you think the AI is able to, help to fortify your positioning?
Yeah. So we use some basic machine learning, especially in the data classification area. All the proactive testing and all of it, that today it is still not AI driven. We have a lot that can be done, not just in the proactive testing, but even in the discovery in general, even surfacing some insights to the customers, and even the documentation. There are several use cases. But going back, like I said, we are a seed stage company and we just got started. We focused actually about the AI. One comment I would like to make. I think a lot of people said this. If people say if AI is like the engine, data is like the oil. I don't know if I got it right, but you get the point. Data is super important, and strategically, what we have done, our current product actually helps us get the right data. We are in the data plane, and we look at all the data, and we help customers to capture this data so seamlessly. Now, next step, we want to actually start building several use cases on top of it. The AI is only as useful as the quality of the data that you have, and that's why we focus on this data. And we unlocked several initial stepping stone use cases with this data captured. Some basic machine learning algorithms are used in data classification, sensitive data discovery, and stuff like that.
Thank you for mentioning this, Buchi, because again, and I had like other founders in the cyber space as well, and we focus that when we say artificial intelligence, people mind goes to now ChatGPT, of course, and large language models and all this, and you say like there are multiple use cases other than LLMs. I'm pretty sure that you might find something in the future where you can go and talk to your APIs maybe and say, hey, like, I don't know, how I can enhance, the security between this application and this application, something like this, right? So
pretty much, there is a lot. I can even tell the use cases. We keep thinking and discussing about these use cases. There is a lot that can be done. We are just taking one step at a time. And like I said, actually, like, we are not getting into too many details of the product, but what we have built so far itself is actually a significant build. And as a startup, you need focus. And
right, I like this.
So the AI there are two philosophies, right? If somebody is providing a quality data for you to do the right AI on top of it, then maybe that's the right approach. But in this case, I actually don't see anybody providing this quality data. So we actually started capturing the data. Now, for us, and even maybe at some point, we might even give this data to somebody else if they want to unlock some other use cases. But we focused on the right thing.
I like this approach, Buchi, actually, because you're not doing it for following a buzz or following a trend, which you are focused on solving the main use case you started with, which is like completing the gaps or filling the gaps of what is currently existing in the market. So 100% on this one. And to your point about the data, and I think we repeated this here on this podcast a lot of times. If you have garbage data, we call like garbage in, garbage out. So like AI deals with data, and based on the data, it can take decisions, especially when you do this data classification and the other use cases as well. Now, Buchi, tell me, for such solution, is it like how implementing such solution looks like? Is it something that I need to plan and do architecture days and nights? Because I used to work on the other side of the table at some stage of my career, or is it something really straightforward? Like, walk me through, how a typical, implementation for your solution would look like.
Yeah. Great. Thanks for asking, because this is where there will be a lot of there could be a lot of difference from product to product, solution to solution. And this is where we have innovated. So first of all, we use a technology called eBPF, Linux kernel technology, extended Berkeley Packet Filtering. We just demoed it as well. It's there on our LinkedIn live page. We leverage that powerful technology to capture data of customers' APIs and applications in an unprecedented way with the least friction possible. Like, our product was installed in some of the largest environments with one command. Within a couple of hours, we discovered even 15,000 plus APIs. I think it was close to 20,000 actually. So one command, especially in Kubernetes environments, you do one Helm install and that's it. In real time, within minutes, you actually start seeing the API inventory, and every application and every API will be covered as part of that. So we innovated a lot in that area on how easy it can get, how seamless it is to actually insert this product. So no, Mehmet, fortunately, it's not months, quarters of effort. It's not even weeks. Our fastest installation was done in 10 to 15 minutes, and already seeing the value. They don't have to do anything else. They install one command and they started seeing the value within 10 minutes.
Wow, this is really fascinating. If I was the customer, I would say this is music to my ears, because, like usually when we talk about security products specifically, and you need a lot of preparation and a lot of integrations, and for you, like, it's just kind of out of the box. As you said, you just, like you do the command and you're ready. Maybe it's a traditional question, and I'm asking because here in the region, sometimes still people, although like we have all the hyperscalers over here, but they ask this, can I install this in my data center?
It was a no until recently, but we said yes, because it's actually not just from that region. We constantly keep hearing this from some Europe regions, some European countries, and India as well, like where I am from. So I think it is becoming a need. There are multiple reasons. One, every country and every jurisdiction is coming up with their own data protection laws and all this. They are getting complex. And the other thing is, there is also a reverse trend with respect to cloud. Some companies, especially the big ones or the paranoid ones, are starting to build their own cloud, and they just want to keep all these workloads in their even if you don't call it cloud or data center, but basically they want to keep it on their side. So we spotted this trend, and we wanted to be the first one to actually start offering this to customers, and we have a complete on-premises solution that they can install completely in their network.
I think this is already also another competitive advantage for you, Buchi, in this domain, probably, especially, I'm talking here about the region, and the data protection laws are very tricky, I would say, and they differ from country to country. I mean, within the EU itself, as you know, for example, and here even in the Middle East region, like it can be different. And I know in the US also, like when you deal with the, some entities in the government and so on, so you need to have like some special requirements. So, Buchi, like it looks like you have a product market fit, as we can say. Can we claim this?
I would not already claim it. I think we first of all we took a very big problem and we solved different pieces of it. We innovated and we tried to solve it the best possible way, as quickly as possible for adoption for customers, as easy and quickly both. I think we have already gotten into several some very large fintech companies. We won deals against some of the biggest competitors. But I think I would wait for another 10 large enterprises to adopt, and for this to get to a stage where we can rinse and repeat. The PMF word is super important, and you have to be very careful about it, how you use it and how you play around. But I think
Indeed.
for me, the good news is all the customers that we have installed, the use cases are exactly same. It's the same exact use case. We have gotten to a point where we just have a template for proof of concepts or proof of value, as we call it, as it's the same template, same use cases, everything. That's a good news. But I think we probably would wait for another 10 customers. This is one reason where we are not trying to scale super fast, rather trying to work with these early customers and solve those problems, not only uh, easily adaptable and all this, but all the way till the end. We care about, okay, even if you find some vulnerabilities, how do these teams actually take and get them fixed? How much time does it take? Are we routing it to the correct person, correct development team? So we care about all of these things. And given the product surface area, I think it probably will take another a quarter or two for us to cross that line.
That's fantastic, actually. But all the use cases, if I think about it, and again, I'm not a pure cybersecurity guy, but you do the prevention, which is important. You do the real-time monitoring for these APIs. You do, the documentation part also as well. You make sure that you have continuous scanning for these APIs. So when I think about you've built kind of an automated system that covers all the need that today's organization. And by the way, I think Buchi, your customers could be any customer. It's not like of course we gave the examples of the FSIs, the financial institutions and the e-commerce, but in today's world, every company is using, became kind of a software company by themselves. You mentioned Uber, of course, Uber is a software company, although that they do cab sharing business. So this is very important part. Now, little bit shifting gears here, Buchi, and I know that you are a solo founder in this, right?
Yeah, I mean, okay, I can guess where you are going, but yeah, please finish the question.
So the reason I ask you this, Buchi, because how I get a lot of questions sometimes because they say, okay, we know that you didn't found the company yourself, but you work in a lot of startups before, and I interacted. How challenging is it to build, on your own with all these, unique set of features, and how did you manage to have this diverse also of your role? Because I know how much you are obsessed about customer centricity and making sure that whatever you have built is actually fit to the customer. So tell me about the experience of being a solo founder.
Well, I mean, I think I definitely steal a bit of credit from my extended team, whether it is my investors, my founding members, or my current team. Obviously, they are all doing a lot of heavy lifting for all of this to come together. But just as a founder, if you are alone, there is too much to do, and you are always it's 24/7 on. Your brain is always thinking about. And you got to do. There's huge sacrifices to make. Family time and all of that goes in. But that extended team around you, whether it is your investors, whether it is your advisors, whether it is your team who is actually doing the actual work, implementing the product and making customers successful, all of these actually matters a lot. And I am surrounded by my team. I'm very thankful for every one of them. I don't know if you follow me on LinkedIn, you would actually see recently I started this series called Unsung Heroes of Levo, because that is actually the case. I get most of the credit because I'm the front facing or public facing one, but they are here to support, and they are doing a lot of great job. And we have excellent people joining us, like, we just got somebody to lead the customer success and 20 plus years of experience in cybersecurity. They've seen several startups from the beginning, and they were super excited about what we are building here and the kind of product that we have, and immediately joined us. So it's not just me, but yeah, I mean, if you just see the founder standpoint, yes, it is a very hectic job. It's not impossible to do. I think surround yourself with a lot of good people is the first recommendation that I would say, because you cannot do it alone. At least spiritually and inspirationally, they should be there with you. Even if you are doing a lot of work on day-to-day basis, that inspiration and like motivation from the sidelines is super super important.
Buchi, I know also you mentioned you were in AppDynamics, and you work with a lot of companies. So is that like really kind of a role model for you that inspired you also as well, and encouraged you also to take this journey, which is, I always tell people, building companies is not a joke. Again, maybe I didn't do it by myself, but I was lucky enough to be part of building companies, and it's not like a you're not going to a picnic indeed. So who was your role model?
Well, I think, again, coincidentally, just this morning, I published a post on LinkedIn on the exact same topic. This is not the first time I'm hearing this question. People ask me, hey, who is your inspiration? Do you have any? I think today's post I wrote about my grandma. She's not a startup founder. She's not a serial entrepreneur. But I wrote a post about her because I learned several things about the resilience, about not playing victim card in life, about actually being empathetic and loving and kind to people and being nice to people around you. So I think I learned several first principles from her, and she was a huge inspiration for the things that she has gone through in life, and how she still stood there with a smiling face, and how she shaped up her entire family. That's in general. Like, so I was basically, like, while growing up, I was thinking about some of these things. When I came to US, I was definitely thinking of doing something on my own. But after coming to US, I think it's countless people. We are always learning, right? Like, first of all, AppDynamics, I spent 5+ years there. I saw Jyoti Bansal, founder of AppDynamics, actually how he does all hands, how he's motivating everybody in the team, how he's selling his vision both inside and out. I think I watched some of those things very closely. He definitely has a huge influence on some of what I'm doing, especially in the enterprise world. But a lot of other people as well. Like, if you see, I have this habit of reading and learning from sidelines, and some of these people I probably have never met, but I think a lot of people have this habit, not just me maybe, but Naval Ravikant, Paul Graham, and a lot of these other people. The way I see is, all of us are, doesn't matter if you didn't start your own company. You're saying, right? Like, the role that you played in all the other companies that you were part of, that's super important. And somebody has to do that role. Like, it's not ignorable. So all of us are on our missions, and different people step up for different roles based on their own personal stories and all. And we all directly and indirectly keep inspiring each other. That's my motto generally. So yes, I mean, I'm learning from all directions, but personally, I had my hero, my grandma raising me, and I have learned a lot from her, and a lot of those values still carry.
That's fantastic. I love to hear these stories, Buchi, because myself also, and by the way, so this is for the audience, and I think you get it right, Buchi. Thank you very much. When I say role model, it's not like, okay, I want to be like someone. It's like to be inspired by someone. To me, I know I cannot become you. I cannot become, I don't know, someone else.
You should not. You should not.
Exactly. And that's why always, even people who follows me, when I talk too much about authenticity, and I believe, the people who succeed in their startups are the people who stay authentic, and they focus, to your point, on what I want to do, and their end goal, the mission, how to serve the customer, how to be empathic, as you mentioned also as well. And by the way, I'm fan of Jyoti myself also as well. Like, I follow him, and he recently started some series. He writes great articles about how founders, for example, they need to learn because he comes also from an engineering background and he had to learn sales, marketing. And this is again something we remind founders here on the podcast that, of course, you should be good at your core, what you call it, function. If you are a technical founder, of course, you should be good at tech, but also you need to learn some other stuff as well. So 100% on this. If I want to ask you, Buchi, what's your, how do you see the, Levo in let's say, I don't want to tell you 10 years. 10 years, I think is a long time. In 5 years from now, what's your vision for Levo?
Yeah, good question. I think earlier you also asked, like, where do you see yourself in the bigger, broader cybersecurity landscape?
Yes.
I think when I see the current situation, I am excited, but also a bit, disappointed at the same time. And I'll tell you why. Disappointed because I actually see, several tooling. We go ahead and start embracing them, start using them without thinking about the security repercussions of it, including myself. I brought in 2016 when Kubernetes was very early on. I brought in Kubernetes into my company and we started betting on it. I mean, several people said, "Hey, are you crazy or what? Like, Kubernetes is not even mature, and you're betting on it." But in the hindsight, when I see, we were not thinking about the security implications of some of those and all of it. So there is a huge lag between some of that innovation and security. In some cases, it's good because we cannot actually completely boggle it down completely, but if we can, with automation, with right tooling, if we can actually reduce that lag between the core innovation and the security implications of that innovation, that's where we want to play a big role. And that's what drives me, basically. And that's what I was disappointed about. Why APIs, in spite of being there for 15 years, why we are still talking about the security of APIs today. But that's what excites me as a challenge, and somebody who wants to be challenged. It's like, okay, this is a great challenge. Now let's actually try to narrow the gap between how quickly. So I think Levo's vision, obviously we'll be thinking beyond just APIs. Within APIs itself, already we are working on several other, GraphQL was something that people keep asking about. But beyond APIs, in the much broader application security, there is lots of problems. The biggest problem that I see is actually a lot of application security solutions. The left hand does not talk to right hand. That static side, the analysis does not understand the runtime side. These are all independent pieces. They don't talk to each other. They don't even understand the latest tech stack. They were built for previous generation applications. There's a lot to be solved, and a lot of security teams, when we are talking to them, they say, with a very disappointing face, "Oh, we have 800,000 vulnerabilities in our vulnerability management tool." I don't know, apart from declaring bankruptcy on it, I don't know what else they can do. So Levo's goal is actually to, help security teams with the broader application security in the long term. But in the short term, we are staying focused on APIs, API security. There is a lot to be done there itself.
I love this because I remember on one of the episodes, it was with Richard, from Risk Crew. So he was, kind of, I would not say angry, but he was, some point very similar to what you said. Like he said, we've been talking cybersecurity for a long time and we still have, all these things. And actually, we became part of the problem because when you add, multiple levels, to your point, when I was also sitting on the customer side, I would say, I was excited when I see that new toy. Let's bring it. I remember I was the first one to play back, and it was new here, at least in 2006. I discovered this thing called VMware. You can install a machine inside a machine, and you start to play with it. And then I remember we discovered about the next generation firewall, and let's try to play with this. And to your point, so we built the stack very fast, and a lot of gaps. Maybe this is good for you, Buchi, actually, because we have a lot of gaps to fill with this vision, which is really, really amazing. Now, as we come almost to an end, Buchi, if you want to give final word of wisdom to anyone, wherever they are, maybe in Silicon Valley, maybe they are here in the Middle East, and I'm happy that I start to see even local startups in that domain, and in tech in general, what kind of advice you give for fellow tech founders?
Yeah, I think one I already said, like, surround yourself with great people. Try to get great advisors and mentors, because they will be life changing. But again, that will take some time for them to identify who are really great mentors, because not everybody is same and not everybody can really empathize with the founder and give the advice. But surround yourself with great people, pick a problem and, work on it like your life depends on it. Like, mm, think about the customer standpoint basically. So, yeah, I think you got to be passionate about the problem and you got to be empathizing with the customer to for you to really be motivated and solve it the right way, because the journey is going to be hard and the materialistic things are not gonna to keep push you to keep going. Actually, the only thing that can push you keep going is actually the real motivation. So you got to be motivated and connected to the problem. That's what I would say. Apart from that, I think there are other several tactical things. Don't raise too much money and don't tell lies and try to don't sell vaporware. This is or don't just follow the buzzwords. Like, there are several things that we can tell, but I think fundamentals,
Yeah,
these are the
fake
most
it, fake
important.
it till you make it, right? It's not working anymore.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of people interpret it differently. I'm pretty sure the person who originally said it probably didn't mean
Of
uh,
course.
didn't mean it the way that a lot of people are interpreting. Fake it till you make it does not mean fabricate the data or fabricate the metrics.
Yeah, absolutely. Two things I highly, and strongly agree with you on, and I tell founders this: fall in love with the problem that you are solving, because otherwise you will not be passionate about it. So you will give up very early, especially if things don't move very fast. So absolutely on this, to the point of, you know, fake it till you make it. And this is why I tell people there is a very thin line, especially, but you cross this, Buchi, thankfully, when they are still in the validation phase as founders, between what they have in their hands and what they are trying to show people, right? And they tell them you need to be transparent and say, hey, I'm trying to build, or I build a model of this, it's not complete, tell me what you think about it. Because people come and say how we can validate our ideas, and they say, of course, when you work in the field, you can understand this more. So I was a consultant, so I know how to talk to customers, and I know
Yeah.
what the customers want, so I can give my 2 cents on this. I said, you just go there and tell them what you have. Okay, you have a landing page, that's fine. Tell them to go to the landing page and tell you what they think about your idea. You have a video that you have recorded, fine, do it. You've built a product, fantastic. Again, go show them. And to your point, but you just again don't sell vaporware. Ask me, as a guy who used to sell in the field, I hate to sell vaporware. And I used to go and said no multiple times. I will not mention, of course, where, to say, I'm not going to tell the customer about this because I don't believe it is up there. So the 100%. Finally, Buchi, where we can find more, or how people can interact with you and find about Levo.
Yeah. I think our website, Levo.ai, Levo.ai, and I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and Twitter as well. You can find me with just Buchi Reddy, BuchiReddy, both on Twitter as well as LinkedIn.
That's great.
I'm happy to answer any questions. Happy to show the demo for those who are interested, or and we are also doing demo days where we are actually demonstrating the product, and just follow our page and they can actually see they say walk the talk, right? Like, earlier I claimed that, oh, we can install super easily. Like, you have done that in the demo, you can actually see it in action.
Exactly. Seeing is believing, as we say, 100%. And for the folks who are listening or watching this episode, the links that Pushi mentioned, they are in the show notes. Pushi, thank you very much for being with me here today. I know, as a founder, and you just mentioned you have to do multiple things at the same time. And I know how busy you are and how busy your schedule is, but still, you took the time to be with me here today. I really appreciate this. Thank you very much for all your insightful tricks about API security that you gave us today, and about the information you gave us about Levo.ai. Thank you very much for this. And this is how I usually end my podcast episodes. This is for the audience. If you just discovered this podcast by luck, thank you for passing by. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did so, please subscribe and share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you are one of the loyal followers who keep coming, thank you very much for all your comments, all your emails, all your suggestions. I read them all. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'm also available on LinkedIn most of the time, so reach out to me anytime. And also, if you are interested to be on the show, don't hesitate. Although we have some backlogs now, but still, I would love to talk to you. You have some great idea. You're working on a product. You have something, and you want a space. This is the space. This is why this show exists. Don't hesitate. Reach out to me, and we can find a way to do it. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll meet again very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Mehmet. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, actually.
My pleasure.
Really enjoyed chatting here. And
hit that subscribe button. Share the show with your tech-savvy friends and fellow entrepreneurs. And leave us a review on your favorite podcast app. Your support means the world to us.